It's all the same. It's all the same. It's all the same. And I want to start screaming like T-Pain, like, hey, do something different, man. Like, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ, do something different.
do something different. And I think you know, the production collaboration, in some cases
It was
isn't
supposed to make
helping.
it sound different. The collaborations
I
were supposed to make the shit sound better, and it's
well,
not.
it was supposed to give new ideas. It's supposed to be like, okay, producer A has this idea. Producer B, had their own separate crazy ideas outside of the box, and they kind of merged it together and really creative. But what's happening is if producer A is super creative and does something out the box, by the time producer B gets it, producer B may not get it, and it's like, I'm gonna add this to make it more normal. You know, this beat don't have a. Why did producer A leave a hi hat out of this? Nah, let me put a hi hat on it. But maybe it not having a hi hat is giving it a certain edgy feel that it needs for the artist to be hit it a certain way for it to be creative in a whole nother lane. So now producer B decides to add a hi hat on it. Now the hi hat now just sounds like a regular beat now because the hi hat is on it. It gets to producer C, he adds what he adds on it, and it goes on there cookie cutter, and it gets to the artist, and he just raps regular on it. There's just so many elements that are added or removed that can hurt the rawness of a record or the rawness of the vision the original producer had. And by the time it gets to the artist, you know, it just sounds regular. So the artist is going to just hit it regular, and then
But a lot of that is like, a lot of that is like, that's the business of music getting in the way of the creativity of music, right? Because like we're guilty of that, right? Because let's say, for example, we're giving feedback. There's two types of feedback we can give you. We could give you feedback that can get you the best or the most creative in your music, or is the feedback we can give you that is going to make this record commercially viable, right? So if, say, for example, you wanted to get the music placed, there's a certain criterion that you're going to have to do in order to get your music placed, right? But that requires something else. And sometimes you can't take the risk that you would want to take because you want to get a placement, right? Because everybody is basically following the last guy and whatever the last guy did. So that's where the cookie cutter situation comes in. But if you want your music to be placed, it needs to sound like this situation in order for you to get to certain hurdles or certain doors. That's the reality of it. And the business may be hurting the creative side of it because now we can't try the stuff because we're looking for the placement, right? So the times of us being able to go to an artist and like, listen to this shit. I just sampled the wildest shit ever. It has a 30-second shootout scene in it. At the beginning of the track. Listen to this shit. And you're not able to do that anymore. Like you're in a situation where you have to say, okay, it has to sound commercially, algorithmically viable in order for it to get placed, because if it doesn't fit these places, it's not going to get on, or it's not going to get considered.
that shit is such a crush in creativity, man. Like, there's nothing better than creating a record and you're putting all of these elements in it that's just not cookie cutter. You put these elements into it, whether it's sound effects or sound bites or just a long intro to build up a movie type vibe or feeling. And you're doing all of this stuff. You're taking the time out to really be creative. You're making the drum sound different. Maybe you're putting a hi hat instead of a snare, or you're making your snare like, and it may not make it to who we need to get to, because the second or third producer you're collaborating would be like, nah, this intro too long. We trying to get a placement. Cut that intro. Take that out. Uh, 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 uh. You need a hi hat to go like this because we want to get this in the club. So now put this on it and put that on it. You know what? Let's put an R&B person on the hook. and that was never the plan. Now it just sound like everything else.
But that's
It don't
but that's
push the button.
but that's the difference. It's like, you can't. Some people would say this is the formula that works, right? I'm getting the placement. I'm getting money, right? I'm not doing it for, for the love of the craft. I'm doing it because I want to earn a living, and I know I'm not knocking that, right? I'm not knocking that. We're trying to make, everybody is trying to make a living in this music business. Let's be clear. This is not a situation where people are trying to really do it for shits and giggles. People are doing it because they want to make a living. They want to make sure that their families are eating, so forth and so on. And I get it. At the same time, it comes at the detriment of innovation. We're not innovating any new shit anymore, right? And that's just the reality of the situation. It's like we're not innovating it anymore because there's proven formulas that work. And in a business as volatile as the music business, you don't have a lot of formulas that work consistently. So if you do find something that works consistently, it's like, hell yeah, you want to keep doing that. Because in times past, you've never been able to kind of see what the wave is, and you've never been able to jump on that wave as easily as you can now. Like, that's really the reality of the situation. Because back in the days, and I know that you didn't know what was going to be the next joint. Like, you just didn't know. You didn't know what was going to be the hit. It could have, it could have been from this guy. It could have been from this person. You don't know what the hit record was going to be. The hit records always sounded different. Like, the top records always sounded different. It never was like the same. It never was the same hit top record, or the same people all the time.